So, yeah. Yeah, it's like good year for Emory.
Yeah, I hear they're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Just the work.
Yeah.
All right, the 1AC Ascent.
You said you wanted the link. I just want to ship it. Oh.
Yeah, I will wait for that.
Yes, okay.
High school and coach are very adamant about watching this round.
Oh, good. Really? That's great.
Yeah, my old coach did, so I can't embarrass myself. 3 sheets for the 1AC button. I think it's good. Okay, right? Yep. Good?
Should be good to go.
Cool.
Plan: the United States should continue forces by adopting a no first use policy towards the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Advantage 1 is Korea War. U.S. first use strategy cause no go resolve crisis which motivates nuclear modernization. Secret 23. Nuclear when you consider we got to when similar nuclear capabilities face off matter is that working against the crisis we can nuclear power shows results is secure immediate deterrence because there's one lose chances of emerging victory nearly zero. No go crisis is a commitment problem every incentive to post regime change. No go can't trust us when crisis emerge when game shows resolve back down as an existential concern. No goes receive advantage signals of resolve for credible use counterbalanced by cohesion. Modernization guarantees Korea War revisions to nuclear doctrine make it uniquely likely. Terry 23. 2022 to 100 missile test ICBM capable of reaching U.S. solid fuel. Hard to detect and preempt efforts to stop nuclear program 5 million program entering more dangerous phase risk. This calculus growing like a communication test of SOBM trajectory on desert on trajectory towards U.S. Mertech. First way use missile defense agrees threats on no go to Japan and Tokyo can lowering threshold for use. Preemptive strikes is imminent use of nukes. If it has no other way to prevent conventional war testing, modernize arsenal capabilities in saber early he got a microscope. Alliance calculated to be used preemptively. U.S. will not retaliate as ICBM threat. The U.S. mainland his growing arsenal program lead to war and no missile into the Korean water strike. Soko fishing vessels in order to limit strike confrontation can provide control developments called Soko. And Japan agreed to certain policies of no go and threat continue to grow. Soko would start its own nuclear program. Miscalc causes nuclear war and draws in all regional powers. Goal 23. Missile test demonstrate capabilities delivering payloads to the U.S. No sign of de-escalation. Both sides of them. Defensive action potential for the line crossing North Korea. The fire basing towards near neighbors. Danger misfire kills civilians. One time mistake military exercises freeze the Korean War. Renewed conflict. China, U.S., Korea, Japan into war. Interception causes U.S. Russia war. Lewis 17. Russia and 16 missiles was arranged to be medium range. Russian radar show allowed Nazi no go ICBM tech cap. Start accidental nuclear war. If no go fired ICBM, U.S. would shoot a missile down using interception skill vehicles that don't target any terror. Over Russia used missiles light on Moscow's early warning system. Nazi no go launch missile defense interceptor ICBM trajectories appear similar to November. For missile defense type, who might think it was a sneak attack. 2024 is the brink. U.S. nuclear self-restraint solved. 24. 24 escalations of religious the West in the past testing opportunities mental Korean agency departure from unification peace through staying strategies of elections approaching billion rely on escalation to raise the political demand for negotiations versionary escalation promoted regime change by blaming U.S. enhance the frequency of missile launches deterrence measures reinforcing the cycle being and view setting emphasis on preemption ahead of the game no nuclear advance required diplomacy credibility ratio of self-restraint would be restricted deterrence increase risk more tend to offer war Republican imitators of Trump cause no go war which constraints on U.S. force posture make the plan credible Jackson 21 and if used necessary conventional arsenals global reach president use nukes out of misperception Trump is on imitators who traffic in military foreign policy to score political points advocates claim no go won't believe declarations credibility. Washington demonstrating authority re-entering arms control curb and TNW Gaussian anti-civil make declarations credible ambiguous. Policy encourages uncertainty about credible nuclear retaliations. Nuclear modernization causes meltdowns and if you diplomacy solves. 17. Risk of meltdown nuclear civil against stability missile Chinese research and nuclear test that was the risk of planning report. Centering collapse north the nuclear facility against the concentrated on one fire could lead to disaster when shared double cause of flood. Destroyed cooling system secretive nature exacerbate situation regime when suppress reporting nuclear talks with can result in discussions on nations nuclear program and if you commitment to nuclear safety extinction. So 15 nuclear fuel failure releases human to the atmosphere continue production of human capitalism until later to food direct human contamination to death fuels enforce estimated vertebrate and variability necessary to inertia cycles. Fresh water becomes radioactive, no human can survive. Advantage choose arm sales, first use posture causes no good to sell nukes to the terrorists in the Middle East and adversaries. Diplomacy solves. 21. No good substitutes for WMT to the Middle East. Desperation makes sustained U.S. pressure strategy, risk missile trade. Pakistan, Egypt, Libya, Yemen, chemical weapons, Syria, Iran's ballistic missile attack, increasingly desperate Yemen. More willing to sell to sales to terror groups, nuclear proliferation, capitalizing the conflict of Middle East, sustaining pressure without double honor, negotiation, dangerous diplomacy good. Prevent nuclear armed in the Middle East. Iranian WMD capability cause Middle East proliferation and nuclear war loss. 22 days ago, believe nuclear Iran is that would be on launch of major strikes against Iranian officials. Saudi Arabia declared that Iran has nuclear weapons capability. The kingdom will get when Egypt and Turkey far behind. It would take years to develop second strike leading force vulnerable to preemptive strike. All actors would be out here trigger making nuclear war all too possible. Reduce the nuclear Middle East. It cause extinction even without escalation. Fahey 20. We increase the threat of nukes and even regional war plans and whether nuclear window consequences of global security nations block like influence attempts to destroy those in regional conflicts using less than 1% of our kits to harass the worst famines. Even one terrorist detonation caused extinction. Weber 19 machine 15,000 nuclear weapons free and targets include main cities. One nuclear baskets repair fire something about high altitude rate would reduce sunlight for a decade throughout winter global famine and catastrophic impacts for all of life. Intense UV with restrictions of ozone and terrorist competition with nuclear weapon cannot be deterred. Nuclear war can start with mistake very high because US and Russia each not harsh warhead by environment is only minutes to evaluate warning with mistake here. Trigger disaster. Asymmetric nuclear strategy makes deterrence breakdowns inevitable, and if you reignite arms control dialogue which solves bound 24 strategy to increase military advantage produce deterrence and have no code expanded to improve arsenal adoption and that risk accidental escalation of code delivered nuclear weapons by hypersonic countries preserve safety if they demonstrate chances of taking adversary advantage increase incentives to use nuke defense policy to focus on stability reduce incentives to posture forces in a way that allows attacks mutual vulnerability visual allies attack opposition strategy like rational expectations security allies could seek limits on number of readiness no code attack arsenal allies limitations limits on capabilities of operation reduce dependence on first negotiations reduce chance of crisis lead to ambitious agreements. Advantage is the alliance. The so-called alliance is unsustainable. Diversifying away from nuclear research is key. Mount 23. You can highlight anxieties are concerned about deterrence exists in menu. Abortion not likely to affect adversaries practices do not make resolve use degradability currently signal without escalatory measures like competition. Addicted to opioids alliance that is relying on assurance of less incentive and ability to treat underlying problem in alliance depend on assurances. Assumes operational weakness, especially inappropriate on the peninsula where Washington's sole and joint concerns can be effectively addressed, testing incredible and capable conventional forces and minimizing deterrence and assurances. The bottomless pit policies were made unsatisfied and inevitably failure bolsters nuclearization. Nuclearization can be devastating to an alliance, issuing the strength and posture against evolving threats. Cohesive East Asian alliance networks are key for semiconductor supply chains. Wing to manufacturing leadership and future of U.S. leadership in Asia in order to prevent China's dominance. U.S. Japan Taiwan so coordinate policies semiconductor supply chain clustered in Asian manufacturing declining. U.S. Biden expects to spend subsidies for violence. U.S. leadership Biden spend not attain semiconductor manufacturing for the U.S. to South Korea driven by competitive advantage. Ships capital and skills intensive requires high profit margins to compensate for new investment PC marketing. Shrinking failure intelligence in leadership relative disadvantage competing Samsung unit cost of when it was factor behind Hong Kong. U.S. requires South Korea production. Chinese companies approaching technology and talent. U.S. alone cannot stop China. U.S. so must coordinate different tech among U.S. Japan Taiwan and Korea. Semiconductors are key for military tech innovation. Domestic manufacturing is impossible being in as of 21 years. Semiconductor leadership, foundational AI, quantum computing, IoT, indicating innovation, national security ban. Need to prioritize allied cooperation between interagency consultation, semiconductor proven. However, every defensive platform allies remain global leaders. China share in the industry full high stakes competition. Chinese pump money to competitors, secure access, semiconductor drive defense application. New factory cost $20 billion. This will require manufacturing infrastructure facilities run to $7 billion for investment. Significant revenue on research introducing products every 18 months. So in East Asia, Chinese government achieve independence by 2030 scenarios where U.S. loses to advanced fabrication facilities cannot develop or produce. Leading shift for the military. Chinese tech and Germany collapses deterrence and goes nuclear. Chronic 21. Tech advances global geopolitical aims at enhanced power, resulting greater distribution of power, new technology to allies, reinforce stability, military advantage, deter attacks against allies, employ new military technology, destabilizing of China, and new technology, invade top one anti-access to areas of networks and leaders, more confident in attack nuclear technology based on a conflict through history. The United States has defense obligation, not one difficult for the United States to back down, resume nuclear isolation and conventional conflict, technological advances, disrupt nuclear strategic stability, and organizations maintain technological edge. The plan alleviates Korean entrapment anxieties and restructured allied force planning. Richie 23 concerns. The president might not push the buttons in between anxieties of Koreans regarding the U.S. alliance, significant overlap between trust and the part. Now, when nuclear weapons believe the U.S. would defend Korea, increase support for nuclear weapons, public fear and desire, deployment of nuclear weapons, only 27% desire. Retaliation, U.S. officers would not found a mismatch between what the Koreans and the U.S. consider the best course of action. It creates an institutional framework for cementing long-term deterrence planning on the peninsula. Work 23 nuclear posturing signals have been provocative to the Pyongyang U.S. U.S. accurate ability Pyongyang is more bold insults. Complicated versions of alliance policy have been fitful to the significance of arrangements and opening psychology. So places even greater scrutiny on the U.S. reassurances get tangled as different missions react differently, wishes itself is inconsistent, progressive measures seen as too much in writing trust building technique, cooperation along the conventional threshold, critical reassurances reducing appeal for souls on nuclear deterrence, and capabilities scores beneath the nuclear level to be effective. This needs more involvement in U.S. policy and planning. History proves that NFU is a prerequisite for future negotiation. Chain 20 so leaders respond privately to NFU, pedestrian unit, which can be whoop, declaration to English, and Korean peninsula, to drop down to NOCO, to decide south north, the joint declaration using the actions, initiated by peace, bring NOCO to the negotiation table, punishment too. We can say, in economic submission, provoke states, NOCO, aggressive nuclear response to sanctions, and the future assessment to the power of peace. Also, revolutionizes the international legal framework. The plan establishes a mutual U.S. Korean use NFU that solves a modernized alliance. So, 1319. Mutual, and if you prevent corruption from out of control, the decision to bring around for miscalculations that's being used by use perception means likely to assume the worst of all capabilities and intentions of the regime would use nuclear weapons or conventional forces sufficient to counter conventional, chemical, or biological, not necessary for them to use first. Bilateral, and if you the briefs intentions, the U.S. will coordinate closely with allies to reassure them even the threat poses risk to allies. Korea may choose to preemptively strike South Korea, Japan. There's no guarantee direct effects would be limited. Follow threats hundreds of thousands of miles would be limited. Follow weather patterns impact our culture and environment. Bilateral no issues more likely to be successful to maximum demands. And then if you solve one politics review, 21 NOCO, Minister told experts without the nuke until the U.S. removed this nuclear development engaging operational can't double down on nuclear programs and capabilities. NOCO shift focus on nuclear and manage relations in light of status as nuclear state. Washington can focus on managing threat and contributing to the arsenal music to bring in drawn to dialogue, not care about whether NOCO should have nukes and believes he can lead country to become permanently nuclear state and arms control. Find eager partner came in 2 and PRX who's follow on nuclear. Nuclear acquisition and inevitable response to hostile U.S. policy. Kim, neo-Pyongyang escalating tensions generated by Trump's campaign. Pyongyang advocated denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula 1994 agreed framework. Pyongyang, especially missile testing, party talk DPRK declared to never use nuclear weapons versus adopting dismantling measures to disarm pressure. Pyongyang's nuclear armament committing overcome technical shortcomings. The North continues to threaten its survival nuclear capabilities to deter a stronger adversary. 3 declaratory is uniquely credible for NOCO. Adopted in Ken 23 NOCO willing to adopt measures that reduce the threat provided it's able to maintain sufficient nuclear capability. U.S. security guarantees are important. NOCO feared U.S. President reneging agreement limiting NOCO return to U.S. for shame made progress. South Korea will reduce capability. Studies demonstrate that integrate political and technical measures having greater durability according to behavioral steps create expectation predictability about future actions. Comprise declaratory actions involve statements of intent of threats through meeting and unilateral statements. Kim wants a bilateral, unconditional, legally binding. Kim 23 NOCO argues security are limited, conditional, and insufficient advocates for binding unconditional, not discriminating NSA demands mandatory NSA applicable under any circumstances concerns NWO's reverse pledge of the unilateral conditional not binding opinion provided NSA specifies U.S. offer formal assurances that limiting the nuclear threat with current careful mention NOCO about legit U.S. posture. That got a posture. Sorry, my doc deleted accidentally the text of the card right above, or the author of the card above that. That's why I said skip this author, but yeah.
Okay, cool. You good?
Yeah, it was a shit. Yeah, good.
First, the plan, does it involve operational shifts or is it declaratory?
I mean, the most we feel that the United States should adopt a no first use policy, but the most likely outcome of that is yes, some operational changes.
Okay, well, there's operational
Yeah,
changes.
Well-
Jackson evidence indicates that post-plan, the United States would no longer be able to deploy TNWs to South Korea.
It's like
That is the
banning
only
TNWs, our nuclear planning, and the drills that we do with North Korea or with South Korea would not be based in the way that we do them now, which is based off of using nuclear deterrence. So the amount of evidence explains that after the plan, we would shift to a more conventional planning with South Korea, which solves the anxiety.
Okay, how would North Korea be able to verify our no first use posture if we can still do things like strike with ICBMs or nuclear submarines, etc.?
Well, a couple of things, and the first one is that the Revere card says that. Well, a couple of things. The first one is the Revere card is about politics. It says that the plan's a win for Kim. So Kim wants to de-escalate now, but regime pressures as well as internal domestic pressures means that he has to respond to the U.S. So backing down on threats means that we greenlight arms control. The second one is the kind of that where we would go on to arms control afterwards, which we can talk about later. And then the empirics card is about when we have done declaratory policy in the past. Kim has, or the North Korean regime has empirically backed down in the past.
Okay, what other instances has North Korea backed down because of U.S. declaratory changes?
Yeah, sure. So the Neo-Byungjin Doctrine and the 1994 Agreed Framework is when Pyongyang expressed readiness to a moratorium on missile tests. So basically, we came in, we vowed to never. We said that we would not strike them. Then they did stop doing missile tests and vowed to never use nuclear weapons first. They reversed that because we've upped first use threats via Trump.
All right, the second advantage, this internal link card at the top is about U.S. economic pressure on North Korea, looking at causing North Korea to look for other revenue streams. How does the
It's likely something that the affirmative would resolve because the arms control agreements we would do would lift the sanctions eventually. It's the reason why because we
have you read that says that?
Well, that's the amount of evidence, and as well as the entire North Korea advantage that says that nuclear deterrence is what's.
Okay, can you point to me any line in any of these cards that say an NFU posture would lead to economic sanctions?
Okay, bottom of the mount evidence. Allies can seek limits on the number of readiness and NOCO's tactical arsenal. Allies lifting sanctions, limits on capabilities or operations.
The thesis of the advantage is that nuclear deterrence doesn't work because it's an asymmetric relationship, not one that is symmetric. So when the US and Russia are facing off, that is at work, but that's not the case for North Korea. And so that whenever we threaten to use nukes first, it gives zero incentive for them to ever denuclearize because again, we could just always kill them. So they backing down from those threats is what drives arms control agreements because it says that we don't want to nuke you first.
10 seconds, TJ.
I'm good. Do we need anything? We're good. When is he sent?
How many sheets?
I believe 5. Check. Yeah, 5 in case. Case in the order of the one you see.
Sounds good.
I need 2 sheets of paper.
We don't have any more papers
Oh,
there.
Yeah,
We've been giving them out all day like candy, man.
Yeah, I don't think I have enough.
Yeah, I have 5 pieces of paper left.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, fucking people online.
Jesus, no, we're killing the trees.
I very much
Alright, I'm good.
possibly use.
You said 5 cases.
Does anyone not have it?
do not.
Take your time.
Riley.
I don't have it. Amelia's been having problems like all day.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi is really slow.
So I'm forwarding it to his personal because. Did you check out the notes?
Yeah, I tried Counterplan too.
I forwarded it to you, so I'm just gonna see.
It's annoying, I really don't get email.
I've had zero issues with the internet. It's been super fast.
Did I just
Pretty good
input
here.
my
Yeah,
email
yeah,
wrong?
what they're talking about.
Well, you don't have anything to complain about. That's not very fun.
Wow, okay, I got it.
Cool. Anyone not
Here,
ready?
Give me 1 second. to
Sure.
open it.
I'll test the thumbs up. Or a longing look, maybe.
I'm gonna growl at you when I have it.
There you go.
Okay.
I'm down back, watch out. Everybody good? Cool. First off, is T and no first use policy for close to the first use nuke against any adversary. Evidence 21, a state of no first use policy makes explicit version not use nuke preventively or preemptively against any adversary, even only for retaliation. And policies apply to general class that can't apply to substance. McIntyre 15, website applying policy as a definite course selected to determine future action. The claim use they must apply generally to class rather than one of many or definitions of class for application. These people with commonly understood means they violate when doing it if you from North Korea vote and after political limits and ground their definitionally infinite substance for NDT policy. And the only way for the negative to have viable offense in depth research and high risk discovery scholarship. And if you accept formulations deliberately designed to circumvent deterrence of Jackson Wallerstein 19, the category of no research falls over from the additional authorities construction to be quite deliberately and attempt to disarm any objection to this world. A road deterrence next with the advantage counterplan. The United States should end economic sanctions against North Korea if they end arms sales to the Middle East. Dalton's economic sanctions not and if you Samford reads yellow, the counterplan sells the entire advantage. Dalton 21. No economic sanctions refers to ambition because the growth of North History, but the Iran press grows by Washington same pressure given nature of the North Korean economy sanctions after the condition North Korea's need for cash and increase in other nations dangerous standing economic pressure dangers of avoiding wars. Outcomes require offering sanctions relief return to an end for North Korea. WD trading concerns and requires the deal of thinking for economic desperation in North Korea by the number to a volatile Middle East. Next to the counterforce disad and if you would outlaw and disport self defense and ban implementation strike classes until extinction. Dunlap 21. Grand proposal should put in the world exception where nukes are concerned cautions imperative before any change to grandma to abandon it. Ambiguity of version not use nukes first but undermine the deterrence of like towards self defense or law grants proposal give the right ASD makes Minnesota launch defense attack to real strike that is MD US might be need first time US imagine hostile power intended to attack nukes and begun a position force of opposition lock receiver US made a limited window to strike some of the most belligerent weapon you pay for attacking US soil and acting to self defense save the US and the plan would eliminate counterforce targeting forcing each other to retaliatory deterrent that targets enemy cities cause extinction bomb guard 20 and if you address where nukes will be used counterforce and countervalue just as the counterforce plans to use nukes against enemies through force to launch and countervalue terror system economic alliances on most city targeting such strategies not preventing nuclear harm from conventional gun laws a threat that is incredible under countervalue use all the level actually using weapons if you requires countervalue how you force work best when they're first strike on it if you counterforce useless enemies already launch weapons when you would be trying to destroy the target from any major the problem if you comes package countervalue if you require the threat to slaughter 100 million through to destroy civilization the possible threat the countervalue since cooling is caused by smoke in cities next to the NATO disad unilateral US nuclear reductions factory location destroys basic mutual defense and guarantees deep deterrent fragmentation background zoo 21 unilateral declaration limit versus US nukes $1 million perception US government NATO and if you prove to be the first to employ nukes they would have to revise the trying to reopen debate about nuclear sharing the assumption for US nuclear strategy and never using first nukes the US force foundation to do across the deterrence the US limit the abroad returns to be called the question mark part of the question and stronger NATO cohesion is key to adaptively addressing numerous emerging existential threats Garamond 21 world facing with threats from China Russia climate change cyber new terror groups the limit faces together translating the most important in the world peace need for unity we have faced a more danger competitive world Russia more against the Chinese military might assert control over the supply chain cyber attacks terror threats and climate change not recognized border NATO's shifting resources strengthen endurance and greater state terror strengthening technological and sharper defense and increasing resilience to reduce border based climate change multiplies risk conflict and the next threats whatever happens we will stay together next CBWs the United States should restrict the ability to use nuclear weapons against North Korea chemical biological weapons and to have maintaining first use is key to deter Miller 20 attacks and generally energy pathogens kill millions North Korea's late capable of biological kill and scale compared to nuclear weapons that advanced nuclear programs able by attack by nuclear capable countries possible president determine that the officials have with inadequate as a permanent nuclear programs in response to make them instance leave the nuclear option on the table use nuclear policy to deter such an attack and biological weapons cause extinction you see 23 capture biological risk also reducing the civilization efforts long term survival classified deliberative events of an injury path and more likely to advance and get voters making it easier to introduce the biological weapons over tax rate over making bio more attractive to meet to achieve objectives states have financial resource personal preventive uses range potential costs and schedule how to diminish the benefits several states is that program more late capability now in the case first Korean War 1 North Korea's behaviors rational goals regime survival that's why deterrence kept the peace for decades the US is key bullet 17 deterrence from zero peace US conventional nuclear deterrence and nature attack during decades Kim's actions are irrational because there's objective as regime survival is overriding goals deterrence is perfect record declares been deterred and the plan caused deterrence failure North Korea's source reunification of the peninsula is essential to regime survival clear evidence shows that only strong US commitment makes them think they would lose deterrence the affirmative Maxwell 20 unification of the literature survival strategies built on supporting arcane when right using force occupied the including sex strategy then North Korea's split the alliance and he's been and then extended deterrence regime has been presumed for decades there's no evidence of advantage in a war North Korea would use all weapons second North Korea doesn't trust the NFU cost 21 opponents not unit is credible even though they're small deal order arsenals in history are idealistic to protect say let's signal there be essentially no chance the United States with benefits leaders that misled us about attention theoretical benefits or theoretically historical does not support an answer but B Central war capping another 70 years and the peninsula has avoided war 4 here's more evidence no-kill war post end of reunification authors draw the wrong conclusions this post states all of their evidence Roy 24 analysis on convincing trying to choose a military solution because there's no good option but don't say what problems came trying to solve like how Ward would solve a more reasonable conclusion given shifts in efforts to support outside assistance pursuit of security and economic effort from the US and South Korea towards China Russia bloc reunification now prevents as a violence said plan they just not well plan to start a war by the force the US and South Korea argue military superiority of both conventional and nuclear levels. Explains military buildup in test 5. There's no risk of scalp or accidents. Rise 22 determines become an integral part of international politics because nuclear escalation risks the global being the conflict lowest possible level of violence. Major officer can make single incoming missiles handling like the recipient will respond to the major strike. 6. No Russia war. There's no will or capacity for nuclear escalation. Shakeman 23. Likelihood of Russia use nukes action on the collision. I be considered Putin will have leaders believing might be, but he's not suicidal. Putin reference to nuclear wars attacking nuclear rhetoric was the extent to which leaders feel it is to leverage Russia's source of influence or dwindling in Russia wars. Not popular reports emerged lack confidence troops and leaders nukes would achieve Putin's aim. Dr. Call for war has an attack. Russian forces are utterly devaluated factor and to retaliation lost the operational advantage. Arguing Putin understands the devastating effects on Russia for launching nuclear weapons. 7. No impact to recent modernization. New missiles are just for show. Betting Kim 23. North Korea's land deception. Asked whether ICBM show were real posing a threat. North Korea's well over displaying missile mock-ups. Korea's even wants a missile flight test. Only cruise North Korea to make that kind of missile. And 8. Regardless, the plan can't solve modernization. States don't model U.S. nuclear restraint. Children 18. Northern countries reduce because we reduced U.S. reduced dramatically at India, Pakistan, North Korea all became nuclear states by unilateral reduction. They nuclear programs. Russia's increases their arsenal effectiveness leading by reducing is not supported. Now the arms sales advantage at the top. There's no internal link. Ultimately identify sanctions is the key driver for WMD sales. Yeah, can't solve that. That was above. 2nd, Iran doesn't want a wider war. They're cautious and domestic issues that ways. Garek and Taki 122. Post-states while Iran is asserting military strength. That doesn't mean leaders want a wider war. They have avoided toward military action. Domestic issue part of the regime. Iran is facing an economic crisis. Iran is so good pressure the international community to restrain Israel. Iran's supreme leader is the longest serving because of his caution. And 3 groups can't obtain nukes, and even if they did, they would never deploy the Macintosh and story. A nuclear acquisition and maintenance. A difficult group is able to obtain a weapon while option series. The nuclear blackmail offered dormancy, keeping the bomb in the basement. Organizations are engaged in country warfare. Terrorists lose more than they gain by detonating new doing so many alienating their sports cause the same paradoxical effect in the calculation of terrorist leaders. Nuclear attack to threaten the extinction of their opponents. Threaten the further escalate. Give me more cards. Now the alliance's advantage at the top. Turn the plan to prevent South Korean proliferation. Is the thesis of their mount evidence is that U.S. nuclear assurances cause South Korean proliferation. We are going to concede the internal link that U.S. nuclear assurances to South Korea causes nuclearization. We'll read yellow mount 23. And South Korean nuclear assurance similarly slow for groups to believe that nuclear weapons are indispensable to security assurance. The bottomless pit they can never be filled. Politics remain satisfied. Network affairs will circle for nuclearization. Something known as help explain the empirical evidence that nuclear assurance may increase rather than decrease proliferation pressure. 2nd, there's no impact. South Korean proliferation stabilizing does it terminally undermine alliance network. The 21. East Asia should increase nuclear assurance. China's arsenal remains unchecked. Should East Asia not go to nuclear states would be constantly threatened in the face of nuclear extortion. May bolster alliance relations with the U.S., Japan, South Korea. South Korea chose to go to nuclear mechanisms to be established to ensure capable design and dangerous security by strengthening and minimizing destabilization and the chip act stall. Domestic semiconductor investment is coming now. Chapter 10. 23. The White House under the plan to spend $11 billion on semiconductor development creates a tax credit for building chip plants. Centerpiece National Semiconductor Technology Center private public-private partnership to innovate, connect, network, and solve problems on America's South. Compete the world with semiconductor manufacturing programs intended to subsidize chip production and will help build factories and increase production. And no impact of tech loss there. Leadership to China. Swain 21. Supposed threat consists Beijing's overturning the liberal order. Beijing's little interest in exporting governance. They want nation copy, legitimize the system of domestic audience. Eventually, the little desire to extend the loans to fail actual China to provide limited features undergirding China not replicable and not sustainable given nature, population, corruption, income, inequality, and that free of all those who drive innovations to get not single nation to adopt the system must have a debatable single global order exists. The challenge not imagined. Threats reject this suspicious notion that China is threatening to destroy a way of life. Now, 3rd, the turn South Korean prolo stalls Asian instability. Kang 23. A nuclear South Korea Washington to leverage denuclearization negotiation with North Korea. Nuclear South Korea will raise the stakes and change Beijing and Moscow. Calculate proliferation East Asia can promote stability, direct deterrence, more compelling. And nuclear South can be instrumental balancing China, checking expansion East Asia, can provide diplomatic leverage vis-a-vis Beijing and Moscow in efforts to denuclearize North Korea. Nuclear South can be viable for stability. And 4. Turn South Korean nuke solve worst road proliferation, prevents war and cascades. Core 17. South Korean might go nuclear, but it would be additional bulwarks against aggression in Asia. Increase stability. Asia will be more stable. Frontline states against China and nuclear democracy. Defensive democracies do not fight each other at it. Have strength of the democracy club through additional nuclear members of pressure authoritarian regimes from going nuclear. And 5. The turn South Korean proliferation will be nuclear subs. It solves war in the Indo-Pacific. IPDF 18. And it's external. Ballistic nuclear platforms have potential to deter major war. South Korea plans to invest in attacks of maritime space in the Indo-Pacific. Will have a nuclear dimension. SCBNs provide mad nations of view. Them to stabilize and force SCBNs and SCBN contributes to ability to nuclear weapons keep the peace and Indo-Pacific war cause extinction. Alberg 23. Nearly all nuclear states located in the Indo-Pacific. Any conflict will have nuclear dimension is critical to maintain deterrence. North Korea may avoid the regional war that would involve nuclear weapons. The nuclear arsenal is the nuclear arena is the only one is the potential in life on Earth. I'm gonna go finish the NATO card, and then Joey. This is Becker and Sue back on NATO. Disagreements on the role of nuclear weapons threaten NATO creation, increased reputation among allies, major resistance from France and the UK. Adversaries might perceive dissent as a opportunity for the equal allies, mutual trust commitment with a cornerstone of credible posture and deterrence. Nuclear deterrence touch on NATO's essence, decisions that affect commitments cannot be taken unilaterally. Alright. Where is this on? Oh yeah, this is another offer. Yeah. And diplomacy in the Middle East now is key to continue regional escalation. Hilterman 328. Biden not would come to Jesus movement. Netanyahu Biden summoned Israeli officials to Washington for the Iran and the United States. The war cause raised the risk of direct military confrontation. There's no full correlated prevent accents, miscalculation, trigger all regional war escalatory cycles. The regional states are hard to contain. Both Iran and the United States have tools to stop the world requires mutual understanding achieved through diplomacy. Encouragingly, senior U.S. and Iranian officials out in direct talks in October 7th. The galaxy is far would be the best way outlined, but to start pulling more levers. And if they do not, they might find the world war cause the only prelude to an even more dangerous conflagration. And the plan drains diplomatic capital from other priorities. Forward 13 to constrain specified non-competition pitfalls, lecture due to competition relationship. relationships are dynamic, requirement of stability, security, and deterrence are not fixed. Arms control and opportunity cost leaders have so much time and energy capital is only available to invest and pursue without objections. Seeking arms control necessarily means that one doesn't want to work hard, so the other initiatives it might be wiser to spend an infinite resource on diplomatic capital and other things. And it caused World War III, CPI, 1018, Israel, Hamas, conflict potential for wider implication down the Middle East. Tensions are high due to Ukraine and strained on relations and young threat action against Israel. Iran, Hamas provide fact the Middle East remains a potential hotspot for a new world war with rounds backed by allies in Beijing and Moscow. AI triggering global conflicts. Mark the card of conflicts, and we'll send that out. Thank you for trust.
We'll wait until we
For sure. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. It was just the dick have to say.
No, I got you.
Yep, let you know I have it.
Cool.
How's you guys turning it in so far?
And you know, the NDT baby.
Dude, I know. Is that your first one?
This is my third.
Oh, third.
It's a long term, man.
It is indeed. Did we get the doc?
Yep, I'm good.
Cool.
Let me open it up real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
Alright, good.
Yep.
Okay, status of the off.
Conditional.
And there's no like hidden ace back or anything.
No.
Okay. Have to ask.
Always.
The NATO cohesion, the veteran suit card is pretty clear about a unilateral U.S. nuclear reductions. It says, quote, a unilateral adoption of a sole purpose policy. What's the link to the act?
Yeah, we think that the AF is unilateral. Like, if you want to fiat anything beyond that, then like that's totally non-topical and abusive as fuck. Like, you can't fiat other actors. It's a unilateral U.S. decision. Like, even if you want to argue that there's some sort of
this
follow-on
is this is a sole purpose policy, i.e., like always, not just against singular states. I guess.
Yeah, I
how
think
does this
I
limit
think the
NATO
NATO
cohesion?
evidence is pretty good that regardless, just unilateral U.S. nuclear reductions, regardless of their context, is seen as kind of a bolt from the blue by NATO allies. It's not a question of what the policy is, but
No,
rather
it
how
says
the policy
it has
is done.
to change. Okay, I guess I'll
We're
ask.
we
What
can
no,
read more
what?
link cards later.
Yeah, alright, you will have to. I'm sure.
Well,
The
that's
NATO,
how it
what
goes.
NATO allies are postured against North Korea now?
We don't think that that's the question. I think
Well,
the
it does,
evidence,
because
well,
this card says
again,
NATO would
again,
have to
the
revise
the
its own
evidence is
deterrence
really
strategy.
the evidence is really specific that it's about the specific bolt from the blue lack of consultation. It's seen as
Okay,
the United States making reductions
sorry.
on past commitments
Can I-
without
it
consulting
says,
allies.
quote,
which is bad.
NATO would have to revise its own deterrence strategy. What countries have to change their deterrence strategy post-act?
Yeah, this is talking about nuclear sharing and nuclear burdens. It's a question of how other countries would have to respond to that.
Why do they have to
regardless-
respond if you just said that no countries are postured against North Korea?
The NATO nuclear policy currently says that they can first strike any potential adversary. The United States revising that means that NATO can no longer have that as their nuclear policy.
Why not? Because it's only against North
Because
Korea,
there's
which-
still a change
allies
to the
are
declaratory policy of I'm confused what the question is. Like, it's you change U.S. nuclear policy. Right now, we don't have a no first use policy. You add a no first use
All right,
policy. Even
cool.
if it's not
So,
totalizing, that's still
That
enough.
makes sense. The Roy evidence says that Kim Jong-un has chosen a military solution because there are no good options left. It says that he's defensive, so
Yes,
why does he
yes.
invade?
No, this is this is critiquing other authors on the topic that says that he's taken this military solution rather than this like reunification policy. The card then goes on to explain why there's all these factors that are preventing Kim from invading, even though they did technically end the reunification policy, and it postdates any of the evidence in the 1AC.
So then why does he invade post-act if you said he doesn't want to invade?
Well, we think that deterrence is strong right now, but we think in a world in which deterrence collapses, that's the deterrence evidence we read at the top. The Maxwell evidence is pretty good.
And
That
regardless, if
Okay,
he doesn't
that makes sense.
invade in either world, that just means there's no
impact to the app.
That makes
so
sense.
I
The
guess pick your poison.
dip cap disads, why are diplomats who speak Korean and go to South Korea to reassure them key to the Middle East?
Jody.
We think it speaks more broadly to like top level U.S. officials in the executive, like i.e. Biden being willing to negotiate with Israel versus willing to negotiate with North Korea.
When has been a single time when Biden has been able to constrain Netanyahu?
Well, our evidence speaks to his working to do that now, which
Okay, so he hasn't. He's tried for the past month, and he will do it next week. Start.
Maybe right
Yeah.
right after the judges vote.
Correct.
Yep.
2, 3. So the Korea War, arms sales, and then the alliance. Then T subsets, damage limitation.
Which is what they called counterforce?
Yeah. NATO cohesion, diplomatic capital, the Dalton re-highlight counterplan, and then CBW.
Can I ask a huge favor? Since I ran out of paper, I'm throwing DibCap on my computer. So just give me 10 time to switch. when you
Yeah,
go.
I have
Yeah,
paper here. It's just like there's some
Don't
spread
care.
in the back.
That'll work perfectly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, where was DibCap in between?
It was after NATO cohesion and before the sanctions counterplan.
I'm good.
Cool.
Did it turn the plant's all sides on no capacity response? He was first to no reciprocate the escalation, shit, or revered returns breakdowns, or never in the status quo in a few returns crisis to winning by discouraging no company strikes and getting a steady stage arms control that's that when mountains empirically proving the chain evidence cooperates, not lashes out that even when we withdraw team governments, no perception link and abuse, but our de facto policy communicated by multiple departments and teams either coercive nor official snoring. And somebody called her to savage northern winning special nuclear arms and boarding humans, he's already implying to give a Russian under nuclear. There's like already victim most arbitrary division of what I'm saying on north reading bodies and big portions of reading over only security order South Korea, the United States, but may often when it's a digital authority. No conventional nuclear terms of powers becoming lost territorial vision is early and short-lived, market short-lived, conventional terms no combat continues so company assurance causes conventional war this Panda 13 so good events to reassurance conventional doubt on conventional town can be authority conventional North Korea Russian Republic capabilities alliance terms being of course but our reader tries to be short is not true because we realize one according cost incentivized for changes or security unlike to be formed when nuclear weapons to trust debate yes trust cost always in the context of NOCO signal costly anti-signals changes like restricting presidential authority on visual statistically credible checks and resultant fiat plans durable linearly strengthened over time and periods NOCO followed onto agreements in the past whose sources to prevent cooperation that shit arms control plans first agreements in U.S. Korea Peninsula which induce trust and result in posture changes single commitment that's about politics of planets music Kim's here's Bruce deterrence concerns behind cooperation laws can be de-escalate crisis without nuclearizing the war debate yes war and miscalc reunification card isn't in the context of our internal missile testing accident hints of civilian targets can be escalating in 2024 the track contextual collapse the CMA zero diplomatic offerings as Harry and Park first strike Kim's lowering now will escalate because attack hubris that's Harry Russia war yes war is too generic on internals overflight they think the United States first strike that's Lewis modernization yes impact they test missiles to garner R&D causing each plan solves modernization happens because asymmetry that's Sukin advantage too. Yes, internal do that under the counterplan. Yes, pro-lift arms racing force no goes on EW detect Middle East adversaries even if they win. The run is a pro-lift they sell to other adversaries. That's all in perception around EW capabilities was over causes Israeli preemptive strikes, lack of second strike, increased risk of fighting and rest. Yes, new terror no go passes the bomb to WD. Terrorist groups arms racing exponentially increase the recent advantage 3. Pro-list map preemption no go China first strike Jackson 20 R occasion government search over the only production trigger team again China having to consider operating in protective work going to be infrastructure over operation decides one escalation arms control disease ox the disad and sucker prolific Dalton Snyder and Mount spill over EA prolific goes global goes global
Okay.
Yeah, I just choked. Fuck me. Okay, we're good. 6:45.
Spill over April of Coast Global Standard 17, the alliance that we're going to bring in the energy nuclear bandits South Korea, Britain, nuclear war may be good than the Pakistan, China, use relation company complex in addition, indeed, a Russian calculation for start to finish suspicion, Japanese and Korean weapons going to encourage United States to reach away to the Middle East, Latin America, and Africa, putting catch rock and Brahman, climate consequence of revisionism, alliance collapse, unlocks, it goes nuclear with the Snyder, 2, 3, China, full security, back and be landing, but expanded, dominated, eyes, almost reading, South China, CBR, to rights, US production of it, market share, dominant, US world, Pacific, Northeast, cover all the economic growth, and US control, but it's over receiving opportunity, US weekend, patrol, the Beijing, and a capitalizing pressing, cabinet, secret services, anti-war, US formally reported South Korea, strong opposed by Beijing. And their aim is terrible, says the United States. Approval first strike, says the United States. Approval first. Otherwise, the alliance ends constant strikes from China and would need arms. So the app is key. Insert highlighting below the CHIPS Act doesn't solve. Our app preempts it. As a fab tech, low cost of labor is key to competing with Chinese R&D tech. Had secure access. The chips are key for tech innovation. Decline of boldest for vicious wars. They go nuclear. That's weighing in and Kronigin. The Kane card, the cards in the context of deterrence. Who can answer it? Asymmetric deterrence. Postures cost arm race and extinction. The stall and amount. The core evidence in the context of democracy's card has no warrants. Says Soko. Will be able to pressure other regimes to go nuclear card above. Answers it. The IPTF card's a joke. Insert re-highlighting literally concludes the opposite after the line that they highlighted Albuquerque evidence of the case obviously turns into subset. We meet plain text in a vacuum, least arbitrary, most logical counter-interpretation is used bilateral, multilateral, geographic, and so on. And 74 that if you come to the agreement of one of our governments, unilateral rotation by general specific, can find geographic region preferred after the interpretation restricts us one half from the other. We're going to the resolution on my topic, literature, and guarantees. One side identification for the negative supercharged negativity, predictability, band condition, one if you force bizarre distortion topic, later on my trap for both sides, is empirically. So upward to the specific forms, is China, Marshall, bilateral, and if you pick different countries become a ground that opens up the country specific disad shifts that go opposite versus that treatment, no impact, partial limit, check, and only increase generic reasonability, talents, incentivizing increasing arbitrary interpretation, substance, a crowd damage limitation. No linking if you know the card banning counter force, conventional weapons and proportional retaliation solves counter force. Counter value is also wrong. We preserve attacks on military infrastructure, even a counter forces. Perfect consultation. The SAR 17 of studies are most of the bodies remain no challenges. Scientists use data or modeling and some of the bonding counter force war between the civilians global order and result in global famine. But the global famine it's the squo. Nuclear landmass is small. If we nuke, it's a counter value. And counter force also nuclear preemption, but counter value solves this failure. Action of 5 and if you see with logical alternative charge, you could produce short average target charge. United States can donate. The spectrum of nuclear options. The party is necessary. Counter force targeting with increased property nuclear war as well as signal clarity, emphasizing bargaining money, inflicting dots and not just one compensating forces, reduce the pressure, escalating assets, full structure of coercive options, and adversary nuclear systems or in civilian sector. So even a counter force triggers counter value. Fire storms that want to see that's our want to see evidence on the take. But the greatest relative risk is counter force inducing nuclear preemption. This on March 23 getting a energy miscalculated to force imbalance and worsening speculation for arms, vulnerability, what it's about to go where we actually result in nuclear annihilation, arms, not beneficial productions, possible numbers of hyper establishing disputes are not inevitable assholes. Political disputes, future wars on certain states conventional without the threat of first cease NATO cohesion. No credit down, jump to 2.0 Ukraine, European nuclear rebels. I'll talk this code. 2040 European leaders wanted the Europeans have raping weapons reduction talks about developing nuclear weapons. German leaders of European colonies talking about Russia do whatever when Indian members vote how to definitively Russian credibility NATO's global security commitment. No link. The plan only occurs if even North Korea cross-links with embarrassing nuclear guarantees from France and UK and commitments to first strike other adversaries over the NATO overwhelmingly cares about Russia and credibility and connected. This watch when you credibility Ukraine to Russia one of the harm resolve the idea for the response device for the prediction Ukraine but to find everything connected to the wider world and come include every you don't know the critical of the shot. So no level of somebody around the credibility no pressure was positive effects of a single last result of a shot like a glass concern. I taxpayer what I defend another state, but the state is actually related context based on my interest in the state. We're defending credibility issues the operating in a common condition ways and risk of a link still goes out. NATO's more likely to receive the draw from the Indo-Pacific as shifting focus towards them instead. Now that they be next to the plan, it's about for US attention that reassures NATO that's more superior to the NATO with the IP for Canada, European heavy race rarely became an American engagement. European NATO don't want to use a believe Asia and Pacific from the United States. Can watch out for NATO and NATO's existence prevents effective climate action. There's lynchings of any NATO increasing military budgets, increasing military GG, funding with climate action, NATO agreeing to military expenditure. Increase GG emissions of artificial leaders, arms industry, loving, they prevent limiting environmental commitments and areas of political direction, diversity, waste from climate breakdown, DIPCAT. The only way to force change is by cutting off weapons cells and what happened in this zone. What no one explains the change of American foreign policy. Local is aspect of American cutting issue girlfriend and which you would Congress would allow American limits of all the one in the state accident short option on the American labor is about to get really fun of American Harry's reuse and left no link and no go and allies would welcome it if you but can handle multiple issues that Western reps in the context of broader unilateral nuclear policy. The plan doesn't meet that threshold. Issues compartmentalize the uses our diplomats to Asia, not the Middle East. Doesn't change our world distributions. There's not zero sum. This river 14 years goes out of here. Heavily Japan involved in the United States. Ukraine is the South turns the running Hayward with separate result in Middle East. These songs about it comes some IR scholars supported diplomatic involvement on Hayward. United States Middle East songs that are really aggressive political multi not one of them. And linked to the plan is a huge win for Biden over the long-standing issue. No progression of spillover to dip cap in other areas. And the disad is an intrinsic logical policy maker do both. And it can't stop Israel from antagonizing around this logo forward by some the opportunity becoming increasingly difficult to go to U.S. temperature washing but use the leverage because it makes you air shock security with a combination with a fighting piece of price pressure leverage big time includes and I wanted to so the pressure of the state of course policy like radical policy possibly change the direction of Israel and impact doesn't make a terminal no incentive for Russia trying to get drawing and voice levers 523 as well as single not looking for a phone of the trying to initial talk about one of the strongest evidence that anyone looking at the strengths of the data only matters like so runs already Israeli most part of Hezbollah the handful leader of the interest on the border even about it is to Obama Hezbollah and Iran the Dalton counterplan. Permutation to both, permutation to the counterplan doesn't solve cards about arm racing being key. The cards about arms racing being the key internal link to selling arms to terrorists and they can't afford nuclear modernization. They need to ship it off. Condos are better running gun, one C-chip, two C-strategy to cover over to substance, great bagning advocates of that extension, to solve CBW. Pixar better mid-top offense our whole thing. The plan shifts away from target literature that hurts advocacy skills and cost-benefit analysis. Permutation to the counterplan into results of the plan is a competitive order exception. Solvency deficits in case the disad operational changes are key. That's shocked and asymmetric to translation made by war and that will maintain the first use motivates to resolve crisis that can NSA's no what's clear unconditional and if you applicable in every circumstance. Issue proves that's Kim And the net benefit is bad. The plan solves submitted for BW and arms control solves this amount in case turns no experts. BW globally defined armor is that's not and not credible sufficient for CBR and deterrence as well. 19 versus my behavior when chemical biological evidence is then change results to be factors for gravity to solve use growth enough to get a mislead relative across the outside of anything close to reverse down to what capabilities or location, even if it ignores or makes a center of harder and efficient pocket would automatically consider pre-using nuclear bombs for Russia and escalation, but more than less likely a smaller company would escalate and intelligence surrounding nuclear BW capabilities are vacant, unverifiable as parachuting 19 use and drop out through BD. As we have it's one of the laws of biological warfare go beyond the research about the homicide or no BW forecast on the source that assessment North Korea capabilities don't have this healthy resources as SKMP and SS and North Korea has capabilities for and no documentation efforts to factor not if it is based on direct second knowledge the group is able to corroborate allegations and discovered inaccuracies. Riley 26. Yeah, I did that all in case. The cohesion stuff. Article 5 in Russia restraint prevent proliferation. The scheming 24 no sense to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. No nuclear might is insufficient to retort ground troops.
Alright, cross.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, let's start on the counter. Actually, yeah, let's go to NATO first.
Sure.
Just to double check, you read the the no link or the and then the plan reassures card, and then
Yeah, so the only one-
the NATO prevents effective climate action with Berlin evidence.
Yep, so the only one I didn't read was Ingram 21. I got to Keating at the last speech and I stopped it, or like the last portion and stopped it ground.
For sure, that's fine. On the pro-lift debate, the preemption card, again, this seems to be saying that they have strategic incentives to attack, again, in a world in which pro-lift comes first. Why would they still first strike?
Because they have strategic incentives to maintain stability on the peninsula. If South Korea were to proliferate, that would alter that calculus and they would have to get involved. The Terry evidence is also really good on this and says that it makes the claim that asymmetric deterrent strategies are uniquely bad, cause North Korea to lash out. If South Korea were to proliferate, it would obviously escalate.
Sure. The re-highlighted stuff at the bottom, the Lee evidence, the bottom part especially, just as South Korea could use a mechanism to ensure minimum deterrence loss. Why is this I don't
It
understand.
says that
the
that's
ideas.
key for that not to be escalatory. They wouldn't do that.
Sure. The mutual consensus arg, I guess is this just they need to work together for it to be
No, the card
valid?
specifically says that the United States must sign off on SOCO approval in order for it not to break the alliance, which you all highlighted around and shrunk in the text.
Sure, that's fine. The revisionism argument, is it just China becomes more revisionist over Taiwan? It seems to be talking about the Taipei Strait and or Taiwan Strait and Taipei. Why does this cause South Korean revisionism specifically?
Because the
This
Snyder
whole
evidence.
card's about Taiwan.
Yeah, so the Snyder evidence says that in a world where the alliance with South Korea collapsed, the United States would remove all of their troops from that area. China would see it as the United States withdrawing from the
So
Indo-Pacific
it's just
and be
more
likely.
it's just more China war stuff. Just
Yeah, it's
okay, that's
alliance
fine.
collapse unlocks revisionism.
Yeah, that's fine. Going down onto the counterforcing stuff. Yeah, how does the NFU not ban counterforce, considering that we can't first strike and therefore we can't attack things like command and control?
Because it is only in relationship to one country. Your impact cards are based off of a complete unilateral shift of the entire United States' nuclear policy. This affirmative only applies to North Korea.
We also conventionally counterforce things.
Sure.
It's the main way we
Reasons to
counterforce
reject the team. Just picks.
Yeah, PICS, condo.
Did you read word picks as a separate shell, or is that just?
I
the-
didn't read that part.
Okay, just
Yeah,
fine.
just the
Making sure.
part above.
And what flow is condo on?
Dalton.
Cool. Anything else, Jay? Sweet. 10. I'm going to. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be T, the advantage counterplan / like the Dalton counterplan, the CBW pick, the Korean War advantage, so advantage 1, and then advantage 2.
Sorry, it's T and then
T, the Dalton advantage counterplan, the CBW pick, advantage 1, advantage 2.
Let me download it real quick. Oh, actually. You might need to.
So T, the advantage counterplan, CBW, pick 1, 2. And then,
Is anyone not ready?
I have them on the cards. No problem. You just got it.
Yeah, I did.
I'm still kind of struggling. Give me a sec.
So good.
It's just terrible.
Email clients locked up.
you want to take everything tonight?
I'm excited. We do there?
Maybe. When is it starting? What happened?
7?
If it's not
Just in the
judging.
middle of judging, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting here.
Well, I mean, for the
staring
last
at
course, I seriously doubt I'm going to be able to make
Not
it.
been blessed
Yeah.
with the dog.
Apparently there's over 100 alumni.
Oh, there's a lot of folks here.
Yeah.
There's like people who like led me
I'll give you
last
the
at the
stream.
Indy.
While we
Oh
wait.
my gosh.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like who?
Okay, her son debates for him right now.
Oh.
Stream's getting a good size.
Oh, it's gonna kill me. Oh God. What's this here? That's wrong.
I'm gonna try to open up Gmail directly, but I don't see it.
I don't know. I still haven't gotten it, so.
Teacher, did you say you get? I'm gonna just make sure I didn't do the classic only hit reply and not reply.
Yo, you applied. I don't even know how that you applied to Shirley round 2.
Cool.
That's impressive.
Solid.
That
I
was
just
like-
looked and I saw Zadao on the chain and I was like, what the hell? Like, what?
That
That's-
is impressive. I'm
that'll
not
do
gonna
it.
lie.
I don't know how I did that either.
Oh, Feldman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
Small one.
now it should be sent to the correct chain. Oof, yikes.
I saw Golly's kid. That's awesome.
That's cool.
I saw Horror.
So now it's-
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
cool.
I saw him nothing, but. Okay, I just did. Give me a second.
What was he gonna make? I think Will is on his honeymoon because he missed it for the boat.
Colossal.
So I don't know if he's gonna like it.
That's important, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah. Gotta have a real honeymoon.
Yeah.
Okay,
You can go ahead and go.
Everyone got it now?
We did.
Okay, cool. Topical lapse must adopt a no first use policy that depends on wholesale and without exception. That's Evan 3. Impacts versus predictable limits. NFU subsets are definitionally infinite under their interpretive action. Choose any permutation of countries to respond to, declaring NFU towards China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, etc., or the inverse of reserving first use for individual countries and geographic areas only responding with threats in East Asia, just the Korean Peninsula, Eastern Europe, just Ukraine, the Middle East, etc., or declaring an NFU in any of those areas. Limits always predictability. It overwhelms the topic, making it untenable. Second is legal precision. No first use with hyphens is a legal term of our legal precision. Is key to predictable research and real world education. Third is a Negron single area assertion of the core question of assurance and deterrence by that serve as the only unifying Negron on the topic. They did not read a counter definition of policy, which is the McIntyre evidence, which is functionally game over for them on the counter-interpretive debate. Now that we meet, they don't meet. One to see evidence is explicit with no first use policy rules out first use against any adversary they don't meet. Plain text in a vacuum is bad, it's arbitrary, and encourages Topicality, makes it impossible to generate ground because they functionally stresses out to the two and are the counter-interpretation there. Counter-interpretation, no first use is a blanket. Commitment Act in 17 debated over American Declaration declaratory policies bifurcated between advocates of the status quo and proponents of no first use, no first use view on our policy, and no first use of the policy in the U.S. with not to use nuclear weapons first. Ullman definition is bad and wrong. One, he's defining no first use without hyphens, not a no first use policy, and not a no first use policy, which is our evidence is specific to. Second, there's no intent to include or exclude any generic or specific NFU, any specific NFU which sets no floor for limits because Ullman doesn't specify what's in or out. Predictability is wrong in Pacific form. Cards of the China, and it says that China, Russia has a bilateral NFU. That's China has a wholesale NFU, which proves they're wrong. Their evidence has an NFU pledge, not policy, which we've inserted the re-highlighting of the Afghan stuff in the ground outweighs and under-limiting is better for society constraints and perhaps speaking first and last using current means you should air an egg second limit terms are often stepped over. Is key to research and education, which still delineates debate from speech. Yes, they still have Afghan is proven by the fact that tons of different teams have been rating full NFU and had a ton of success throughout the year. Now picks wrong one if they're so bad they lose the theory judges will eventually realize that Afghan is hindered by a new genre of counterplans. No, we're correct to exclude them. Second picks debates are good picks. Classical nuance analysis of poor controversy. The one I see for up-to-date research and smart planning writing in and necessitates a strong defense of the app. The app has infinite preference should be able to defend their core scheme functional limits. It doesn't check when they're counter. Zaps the best negative ground on the Topicality overview. Incredibly low bar for the affirmative to win 1 or 2 solvency cards are linked and beat every night. Team second, air towards limited and balanced topic space in high school. Domestic topics prove that the alternative is aging counterplan shitty. Politics and rider dishads and recycled con Ragnagan can solve reasonability. One, they're not. That was the limits and ground. Often second, competing interprets better model of debate objectivity or reasonability. Encourages Judge mentioned as it's inherently subjective. Now the advantage counterplan is it absolutely solves all of the advantage to cross-sectors extremely. The reason they solve that advantage is all is because of reductions in U.S. economic sanctions. The counterplan directly gets rid of those sanctions, which means that it functionally chaos the internal link of this advantage perm to both and perm to the counterplan both link to the net benefit because the advantage counterplan doesn't change the U.S. nuclear posture specifically. There's no warrant for arms control. Key RB highlighting proves that their evidence concludes that economic sanctions are key to things like arms sales to the Middle East. Counter is good. We get what we did. First is key to next multiple options is best for in education sector and offsets infinite part-time the ability of the ass to speak. First and last, third is the most rural in the world. Obamacare proves you have to defend against attacks from the right and the left. Fourth is the most logical of the status quo. The counterplan proves the ass is a bad idea. You should negate the plan. Time strategies to are inevitable. Topicality, throwaway disads, and some teams are just faster than others. Dispo is bad, doesn't solve. Skew is inevitable. T disads in 2 ways. Dictating block strategy proves teams don't go for the A strat half the time because of 2AC coverage and there's no consensus on what Dispo is in the first place. CBWs can see the permutation is confident concede. No bioweapons theory is a reason to reject the argument on the team, the Korean War advantage first deterrence not going forth. The Soko turn on advantage 3 answers all of the Soko turns is bad stuff. Credibility, it's not credible for several reasons. First, it appears even quintessential NFU postures like China and India were never perceived as legitimate, even though they have small arsenals with debated warheads, which is their cost of evidence. Second is mistrust. North Korea has been sanctioned and castigated by the U.S. for decades. They wouldn't believe the U.S. Suddenly shifted course cost of 21 mistrust and one leaves of mistrust and others natural for leaders requesting whether they can trust in overseas policy, political, military leaders take a whole of the state's actions deciding whether their trust policies are practical for a state to protect its reputation and mistrust in any other could understandably lead to mistrust and declaratory policy. Third is reversibility. North Korea could never be confident that Biden wouldn't reverse his policy or it would be overturned by another administration. Cost of 21, there's little prevent change of Biden were to issue and overseas. There's little opponent can do to prevent the change of U.S. policy in the midst of insurance circumstance or new leadership and practically nothing that adversaries can do to coerce into keeping a pledge opponents have no confidence. One EC cross-ex proves that it wouldn't be trusted. Can't verify whether things like nuclear submarines, nuclear submarines or ICBMs that are miles underground and hidden bunkers have been de-alerted or any of their operational changes. NOCO war, strategic stability holds now plainly said that he won't go to war now in conventional nuclear superiority of the U.S. and South Korea means the Kim won't take the rest. He values survival over posture. That's the Roy evidence. There's no NOCO war escalation. Horowitz and Saunders 21 leaders are concerned general war would be devastating. NOCO artillery puts tremendous pressure on Tokyo. They can deliver against U.S. geography makes it less likely to go oppose a war in which U.S. behavior that China doesn't want refugees. All sides of the war would be hugely strong incentive to deter rather than escalate. Sustain how study the U.S. knows how costly war might be and deterrence is reliable and sustainable for 17 with no good deterrence. No alternative to this. We have untolerated authoritarians that have nuclear to preserve his regime. The pro intention that nuclear deterrence works. We know how to play. Kim Jong-un is rational. Now miscalc and accidental war theses are wrong. There's no incentive for escalation and inherent risk with it. No nation would. That's the Tetris evidence. There's no miscalc. No cases of modern safety checks and thought by Ukraine. King 23 leaders understand that firing weapons is not simple. There's no evidence for war resulting from an accident. Even with no nation has ever experienced accidental detonation with modern safety likelihood is even lower. Applied with intent after extensive prep during Ukraine missiles struck with the fullest village, however, NATO decided against response, and no U.S.-Russia war Putin knows the risks are too large to launch a nuke. Guarantees overwhelming retaliation and is widely unpopular. That's the human evidence. Here's more evidence versus air power. Russia knows there would be overwhelmed from 23 countries, no F-35 power. The U.S. and allies could launch a massive air assault. Russia within the combat radius from Poland, Finland, Norway, Denmark, and the Netherlands. The U.S. for using logistical support rates, of course, rather than the Russian military could be a paper tiger. Putin's largest hesitation may have to do with air power. Putin has the self-preservation instinct of any major engagement. He would be destroyed from the air. Second, as resources, Russia's military is stretched too thin, and they would take the risk, wouldn't take the risk regardless. You're honest. Two, for the possibility of Russia could attack the Europe or the Baltics below. NATO concurrence is worth returning 10 years covered wars more. Every list of them, but there would be more NATO soldiers next to Russia. Russia tends not to be as strong as it claims. Even if Russia has resources, doesn't mean it's trying to keep Russia. Years will be necessary to renew weapons resources in the economy. And no U.S. first used the cross-apply the evidence that they read on the counterforces that we would never try to conduct counterforce first strikes, and no reckless U.S. first strike posture is restrained, but flex is key. Wolf 22 nuclear command and control relies on our collective collection of processes that would allow senior decision plates have options for early response and launch options may no longer dominate the U.S. and nuclear plans adjusting and inherently destabilizing prompt launch options. The president has the option to layer response and wait. Additional life options both prompt and delayed options to providing flex to choose the appropriate response. Modernization. There's no impact to North Korean modernization. The king is willing to use those weapons in the first place because they're all show and just an instance of just an instance of him trying to power project now. The arms sales advantage. Iran won't escalate. They don't want a wider war, economic crisis, and choosing a successor outweighs escalation concerns. And community is cautious that the Garrick and Take evidence they aren't willing to accept the risks despite recent provocations. Ali Mohammed, 4-3 Iran wants to avoid all where they modulate their actions with and are not escalatory. Iran does not want a big Israel has below war the most dramatic steps and reviving war to design an actual weapon could not invite each other to do it. I would not think so. Do not expect a massive Iranian response, and the terror impact of no risk of nuclear terror backlash among supporters, factionalization, and response disincentives outweigh nuclear as the least strategic option. That's a Macintosh story. Evidence understands terror motivations. There's no North Korean nuclear transfers, global backlash, and lack of bioaddress or 18 nuclear cell nuclear materials that would undermine the regime security efforts of condemnation or retaliation, resulting in American-led military responses to short and depose Kim Jong-un Congress losing power had the program and China's reaction would be a significant return and concern in North Korean sales on undermine China's goal. China fear no experts in other East Asian nations no can ill afford alienating prioritizing this relationship over the short term gain difficulty in finding a buyer Iran could develop its own Syria no move to restart the program. Other nations have shown willingness to cooperate with the West are advocating for a nuclear weapons free zone. They don't get how nuclear terror works. Fail safe prevent any accidental or unauthorized detonation. If they stole the radioactive material, they couldn't kill enough people to lead to an impact. Astana 21 nuclear kept components isolated nukes having practical saving arming and fusing arming is only when the bomb is reduced to an acceleration. If someone steals a warhead, they cannot make an explosive security system prevent unauthorized nukes pause guarantee a nuke will not explode without authority building the weapon out removable without assembly. The bomb nukes are booby trapped short period the device would automatically lock out after a number of attacks and attempts. Even the engineers who have created the bombs can't compromise it. I am good for processing this now. So think about it. Cool.
Sorry. We good? Cool. This first cost flow cards in the context of, well, you cite China, India, and Russia. I guess why do all of those examples apply to North Korea?
Sorry, the first cost flow card on the first advantage?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's more speaking to the wider perception internationally of like how the U.S. operates its declaratory policy.
What is that perception, and why does it apply to North Korea?
Yeah, so one, I think the cost flow evidence is speaking to perception, i.e. like they expect broadly like U.S. policy to be relatively consistent if it has been for decades already.
Yeah.
Which North Korea has obviously been sanctioned a ton by the U.S.
so
before.
Our Jackson evidence.
Yeah.
Our Jackson evidence indicates that North Korea has asked for the United States to restrict the ability for the president to use a nuclear weapon. Instead, that would make the commitment credible. Which card do you think that you have that answers that?
Yeah, one, I think both of the pieces of cost flow evidence speak pretty clearly to that as well. I think
point me to the line that restricting the first use of the president to use a nuclear weapon in the context of North Korea is not credible.
Thus, it is practically impossible for a state to protect its reputation when mistrust in any other areas could understandably lead to mistrust in nuclear declaratory policy.
Let's go to Actually, topicality. At the top, this like first card you read is like NFU is a blanket commitment.
Yeah.
I guess like the card says blanket commitment not to use the nuclear weapons first. The app is a blanket commitment to never nuke North Korea. Why does it not meet the interpretation?
That is not true. I think our 1 and C Evans evidence and the Acton evidence speak to
Okay.
the United States not using nuclear weapons
So
first
this-
ever.
This action card, the plan would meet it, but it doesn't meet the 1 and C evidence.
No, the Acton evidence is also speaking to the United States not ever using nuclear weapons first.
What line in this card do you think it says can't be bilateral? Like, is your warrant really that like this author said blanket commitment and that somehow precludes bilateral NFUs?
Yeah, I think blanket commitment pretty clearly doesn't apply to
Okay.
a single country. That is not a blanket commitment.
Okay, then like, so under this, you're like legal precision, we need to gain real world education about the topic. You extend this Macintosh evidence and you're like, you didn't read a counter interpretation on policy. The Macintosh evidence isn't in the context of an NFU. You made arguments about why we should have real world education about the topic. Why does this not a double charge?
It is a definition of the word policy, which the
Sure.
2AC did not define. We think that makes
But
our interpretation pretty
Not in
clearly
the
more
context
precise.
of the topic, correct?
I think, one, even if it isn't in the context of the topic and is just defining the word policy, that is the only definition of policy that has been read, which means that like you don't meet that. Second, we think that like the word policy still, like even if it is a general definition, it still applies in this specific instance of the resolution.
Cool. You good, Joey?
Yep.
Sweet. 1 and 2 0. 1 left going on. Sorry. 1 second, I can order. Alright. The Alliance Advantage, NATO, DivCap, Counterforce.
Alliance, NATO, DivCap, Counterforce. Yeah, that one.
We good?
Mhm.
Y'all good? Sorry.
I'm not good.
No worries, take your time.
Alright, I'm good now.
Sweet.
Joey, good. Cool.
At the top, nuclear assurance in South Korea cause rapid proliferation. War on the peninsula is coming now. Absent South Korean nuclear proliferation, the turn solves all the affirmative impacts now. The line by line extend 1 and C1. There's no impact to the disad. South Korean proliferation is destabilizing. It doesn't undermine U.S. alliance networks. It provides a counterbalance that deters against extortion and conflict. China and North Korea are already proliferating. That's the lead 21 evidence. Now you can group the 1 and 5. Lead later explains that there's no risk of preemption. South Korean proliferation would avoid preventative strikes from North Korea and China. Solves current tensions, but and that make worse escalation inevitable. Lead 22. Concerns South Korea would face counterattacks, managed by nuclear threats by the U.S. President and NATO and Korea wars nuclear South and use substantive to make the PRC or North Korea apologizes. Manifested to hostile neighbors, standard South Korean nuclear weapons that hold leverage through defensive posture, criticism that nuclearization would justify the North arsenal is flawed, proportional response, not justify the first move, misbehavior, nuclearization, and best deterrence, light of the extension that posed by the North Korea and the PRC sold to nuclear would address this and support America's Indo-Pacific strategy, staying a free ride in the U.S., but South Korea in a more dangerous position. Now the 2-point arms control is internal, and the disad's impacts come before existential disease. Here's more evidence. South Korean proliferation bolsters arms control norms overall. Treaties explicitly allow this exact scenario. Press 22. The NDT guarantees the right to withdraw North Korea's acquisition of nuclear threats. South Korean neighbor country meets the right for exceptional event to withdraw from the NDT. Crafted argument should ensure it does not harm the states. Follow the rules after created an escape clause in the Article 1 South Korea, which also be in alignment, can further strengthen the NDT shows the treaty's flexible. Member states of the plan will not be punished for good legal behavior. And 3, the South Korea won't trigger prolific cascades. Other factors outweigh. Lead 22. If South Korea develops nuclear weapons, nuclear domino not occur. There has always been a concern about proliferation. A new state appears with proliferation not surge in order. It has not collapsed. The nuclear dominoes already come to Asia, driving faster North Korean weapons into balance among U.S. allies. Asia, South Korea should not be holding on for nuclear arms with use or exaggerate. Most countries not be conditioned for nuclear armament. They lack never hard developed tech and nuclear problems in Southeast Asian states are not equally stable there. Non-more definitive position is advanced all the countries rather than demanding development for nuclear armament. Now the 4-point revision, if there's no risk of revision, that South Korean proliferation wouldn't spill over and undermine broader U.S. alliance cooperation. Here's more evidence first. Prolif won't cause alliance fracture in other area, proven with Britain and France. Kelly 22. South Korea's liberal democracy, the world state capacity will manage nuclear energy program, be responsible for Britain and France, and even facts in India better with their arsenals and panic session democracy will be good series better than East Asia autocratic nuclear powers. And B, proliferation strengthens overall U.S. alliance network. South Korea would work alongside the U.S. develop cooperative mechanisms. That's 1 and C Lead 21, which is never contested by the affirmative. Here's more evidence. South Korean prolif improves relations, key to more flexible U.S. strategy. Einhorn 23. South Korean energy nuclear might be the only way to solve the U.S. RQ reliance. Could be a strategic benefit of the U.S. increase burden sharing and help enable the U.S. to fund the issue more restrained, less foreign policy, less reaction, defense budget greater focus on China fear forever. War interventions to the Washington can decide to tolerate its own nuclear solutions programs to in Pakistan. U.S. not pressure friendly nuclear states increase competition with China and Russia would provide a strong reason. And C, U.S. would accept South Korean proliferation as it would further White House Indo-Pacific goals. That's the Lead 22 evidence. Here's more also from Lee. South Korea's nuclearization will balance the playground of the White House balance the failure of U.S. security policy is strongly engaging enhanced nuclear but as well. South Korea's nuclear power drive China to the corner forcing G to act on Pyongyang as long as Seoul's bombs are expected to meet needs of the White House would accept balance my result Korean moratorium and nuclear talks prevent accidental use of nuclear. South Korea would serve as Washington and Pacific policy counter China and North Korea as a lynchpin ally sharing the burden of East Asia. Now 1 and C2 the Asia turn extended. South Korean proliferation solves Asian stability, increases deterrence first. North Korea prevents Chinese and Russian nuclear coercion. That's decaying evidence. It also means the entirety of the AFSA impacts are all internal. South Korean prolif solves Asian stability and contains China and North Korea. The U.S. would support it. That's the Lee evidence from above. Here's more. South Korean prolif is key to check East Asian nuclear war after Ukraine changed the game. Pelotaba and Cash Out 22. Policymakers over the Ukraine experience issue will not do well to take the nuclear turn over the turn against flexible right now nuclear turn spread the world aggression. There is actually within East Asian states, South Korea, both deals with nuclear, North Korea and China. South Korea nuclear deterrent will allow the U.S. to reduce spending on deployments for strikes rarely have been deployed. Now 1 and C3 extended. The rogue prolif turn also dropped. South Korean nukes solve worse rogue proliferation prevents war and cascade proliferation. Now is already happening from rogue nation, but it dumps any proliferation cascade impacts that they might be reading means it's try or die for South Korean prolif. That's the core evidence. Here's more. Arm races are inevitable. The South Korean prolif is key to contain breakout and escalation. Kelly 22. Alternative South Korean nuclear deterrence are soft missile defense not working enough. North Korean seem the willing to relieve the exception that South Korean nuclearization concerns local deterrence and prompt Pyongyang and Beijing to restate denuclearization negotiations. There's no local cascade to be sparked. It has already occurred. China, Russia, and North Korea move first. Nuclear bombs are an excellent deterrent for North Korea, South Korea, and interest in defensive. Now the Indo-Pacific turn here is where you're to sign your ballot. South Korea would develop nuclear submarines to deter conflict in the Indo-Pacific theater that goes nuclear. That's the IPDF and Burke evidence. It's a tiebreaker. They have no evidence about nuclear submarines. It means it turns and solves other impacts. Now the method of proliferation would be submarines. That's the IPDF evidence. They're re-highlighting as garbage. It's talking about Chinese military modernization that has happened in the last few decades. It also says that prolif could be destabilizing if not properly managed, but they straight drop the alliance turn above that the U.S. would support and strengthen South Korean nuclear development and assist in the process. That was above. There's no offense. Sorry, it's too late. Don't shake your head. Here's more evidence. Allied procurement is easy. Sutton 21. It is no secret South Korean interest in nuclear cells. South Korea's effective procurement strategy to win UK and France and pride for their KSS. Southern France can help South Korean nuclear cells have been raised by both the nuclear subs out of pure out of reach. And the break is now as collapsing the Indo-Pacific. Allied nuclear submarine protection now is key. COP23 feels an hour later of Indo-Pacific military action. Once defense in about 65 nuclear homicide game change. The U.S. are struggling to keep up. Chinese warship production rates are hair-raising. One NSR with SLCMs often unparalleled counter PLO force of further aggression. The SLCMs is necessary to survival to keep the deter officers or allies self option to deterrence out nuclear arms. South Korea posing additional risks on Beijing. Now the NATO disad. Oops, Berkeley double turn themselves. We'll concede that NATO cohesion is low and decreasing. Now the plan reassures NATO allies and shores up cohesion. We'll also concede that NATO's existence prevents effective climate change. It means to try or die for the negative. To solve climate change, which is the only external impact in the round. I'll read impact elephants here. Runaway warming cause extinction. Sears 21. Climate could be essential to the planet reach the high hours where society's business. Some adaptation. 12 seem to leave the planet 2 hour adaptation. And effects included disastrous pressure on all food and water, viruses, and migration. Clouds such societies linked to climate positive loops. The reverse runaway claims the threshold of 2 existed to see if mad nations would keep climate below an existential threat. And the double turn also makes their only remaining impact scenario internal. Climate change accelerates the spread of pandemics. Shave R20. A shifting global temperature created rising major category deforestation, decreasing the risk of fruit bats and mosquitoes. That's increasing the spread of malaria and emerging bacteria resistant antibiotics. There are currently many diseases frozen in the ice, but due to climate crisis, there's a fear of awakening disease and what on earth will warn the permafrost will melt. The dormant bacteria will be able to activate everything habit. Climate change can help spread future diseases, changing weather patterns will increase vectors and spread diseases. Viral outbreaks will become more common if we refuse to tackle climate change. Climate change is activating the influence of shared disease and climate crisis will cause migration of animals to move closer to humans and expose them to new disease. Length of diseases spreading as well as insect vectors, animal host, human contact, the immune system. Pandemics are bound to occur more often if the climate crisis remains unabated. Now the DipCap disad will concede that there's no link and no impact to limited Middle East regional war. Zero is any risk of offense means there's no turn, and the counterforce disad will concede also no link. And if you doesn't change, counterforcing posture means there's zero risk of a turn or any offense.
On the NATO disad concede the Keating evidence that Russian restraint solves the original 1 and C impact to it.
Yes, we'll concede that Russian restraint solves takes out the 1 and C impact, but makes the double turn impact unique. What's this? You know?
Sorry. 855 or 847.
That, wow, yeah. Yeah.
Is there a doc?
Yeah.
Even Atlanta's housing market is starting to get pricey.
Yeah, Dallas is insane.
Yeah. Cost-wise still, I mean, you can always just go a little further outside of the city.
Oh, no. Yeah. It's bad everywhere.
Cool.
The big issue is the property taxes are extraordinarily high. Like the difference between our property taxes in Atlanta is somewhere around $2,000 to $2,500.
Wow.
Just on that alone.
I always feel like Texas kind of, how some of those taxes get rolled into various things, you know. User fees on
Exactly.
interstates, things like that.
But I haven't bought a home because I'm not sure I'm gonna stay.
Alright, it's gonna be kind of, I guess, kind of an odd order. It'll be advantage 1, which is, Korean War. Korea advantage. The arms sale advantage.
Is that 2?
Yeah, 2. So 1, 2.
What was the last advantage?
Alliance is the last.
Okay, I'm right. Okay,
Oh no, sorry. 1, 2,
Uh-huh.
T.
Alright.
The sanctions counterplan. NATO disad. And alliance. Sorry, the doc might be out of order, to be honest. Everyone good?
No, hold on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, trust, one signal costing hinting operational changes like restricting presidential authority, demonstrating commitment and durability. That's Jackson 2, Fiat the plan. Durable and linear strengthened over time, 3 MPRs, no gets followed on bilateral arms control agreements in the past years. First, you guys prevent cooperation, that's Shin 4 arms control. The plan's first agreements between the US and Korea, which induce trust and result in posture changes with signal commitment to stability, that's Mount 5. Politics, the plan shifts away from a maximalist strategy and allows no good to retain secret arsenal, which solves the first causal evidence. The first causal evidence to concede the plan would spill over to other things, which means we resolve it. It's also about not about no-go, so you should probably reject it. The other causal evidence, we internally turn it because the future presidents would double down. When Trump doubled down on the plan, it makes it extra credible. They say no verification, it doesn't matter for all the reasons above. Yes, Korea War 1 testing missiles accidentally hit Tokyo civilians, increasing testing now, they extract political concessions, collapses CMA beach. No diplomatic offerings, that's Harry Park 2. First strike, Kim's on the threshold, that's space because of tech hubris, new tech increases the risk, that's Harry conceded panda, so contributions just creates doubts over conventional deterrence because shifts to focus to preemptive strike, nuclear prevention, incentivizes first strike, which circumvents all the defense about why conventional stuff deters him now. No escalation deterrence doesn't assume missile testing, no, not a no-go invasion scenario, which is independent of Russia war stuff. Yes, Russia war early warning systems interpret US interceptions of no-go missile as a sneak attack, Putin retaliates immediately, that's Lewis. It's not about us getting into conventional war, but rather them interpreting it as a US has already first strike, which causes them to launch everything, which none of this defense applies to Wolf's evidence. It's not about US first strike, but rather than retaliating as such, they drop the Republican stuff, Republican imitators of Trump make no escalation, escalation inevitable, only restricting presidential forces, sent to durable signal conceded, arms sale stuff, will concede Iran, yes, terrorist acquisition, no-go stuff, WND to terrorist groups, relay arms racing limit increases risk, that's Hoover and Dalton. The tech stuff about us being able to find it out is not about no-code nukes, but rather US ones, which means it doesn't solve T. And if you can be unibio or multilateral geographic as key to app ground their models 4 apps all year when the app always loses, topic sets are broken and picks out of core countries, make the debate unwinnable. The limits disad one functional limits impossible to find topic as given for random collections of countries, which checks all apps. Good ones can zero shitty cases and small apps don't interact with topic. It says that aren't intrinsic, which incentivized teams to run towards clash. 2 generic. All NDT subset advocates are about core countries and other apps won't survive cross-sex. App spin is inevitable but good core. Topic disad check 3 ample ground their model devolves into using the same case nexus to preseason cut some cards. 4 the US already has an NDT for non-nuclear states. Berkeley inviting 2120, 18 NPR states US when I use the nuclear weapons together, non-nuclear states. The precision stuff, it flows out negative. It's about the security apparatus defending it, and if you they've incentive to make it as large as possible to dissuade it. Conceded empirics, the ground stuff, they get it all if they include any geography or topic countries, and they get links. It ensures generics and ground stuff. So 72 will just adopt a free policy and bilateral agreements, whether unilateral by agreement or clause with different nations, like that's the same or no free does not depend on enforcement upon international mechanisms self-enforcing. The policy definition, it's incoherent. And if you definition overdetermines because we can do no subsets of a subset. The ACRO definition you should prefer only is in international affairs profession defining any views a term of art from a theoretical empirical standpoint. One intent to define thereof just any, not every, and has no intent to exclude bilateral NFUs to predictability. NFU is country specific. Dr. 20 over. Jesus positive, not using up for another country, least retaliating in the event of another country uses first a global experts agree. NFU level 21 NFU. Laws can be adopted unilaterally, bilaterally, or multilaterally. Pentimus in vacuum extended, but otherwise just by picks out of tags, lines, or cards, and cross-X, which outweighs two in our stuff. Also, they don't give a counter interpretation, which means font text in the vacuum is literally the only way to read topicality on the flow. Picks up research is inevitable, just as paper and app. Picks great. Worst debate is one out of innovation. They're about to release a new advantage in team taking out of Russia, which destroys affirmative. Two in education picks require one card, but when he sees need robust advantages that creates in-depth debates. Functional limits only limits half. 3 debatability picks are unfair. Steal the entire half and makes the debate itself. No offense research is inevitable. Non-unique all their impacts in the theory stuff. Doesn't check because I'll always lose to Netflix and condo. Breaking new becomes impossible. Reasonability committing in terms encourages small, increasingly limiting an arbitrary debate. Some judge intervention inevitable. What substance credit outweighs limits for the sake of limits is bad because they will always try to include the advantage counterplan. Sanctions don't solve because North Korea will say no because we have not changed our first use posture. NFU is key. One arms control only NFU builds trust in diplomatic platforms. That's mount. 2 ambiguity NFU is key for predictability, which eliminates threats to resume silent parents to resolve crisis. Is also obviously links to the disad because if we do sanctions on North Korea, it will freak them out. There's also no net benefit, so the permutation solves everything. The disad super chilly. We never read a link term, just reassurance is squo level. Never read a card that NATO collapses now. Just cohesion is low and the terminal needs full collapse to solve it, which means this is a non-starter. I'm really confused on why they waste time here. The alliance disad. East Asian alliance cohesion is key for semi-industrial supply chains. Collapse causes Russian revisionist wars in every hotspot goes nuclear. Yes, spill over. China increasing investments in so-called companies now because of U.S. export controls. Collapse of alliance causes chips. Manufacturers jump ships and win the tax race. It's just about the perception of abandonment that SOCO will change to China, which means that even if they go for the bomb, the U.S. will move it, and then we lose the semiconductor release, which is external from Poland. It's bad though. No war inevitable. Frame to turn. The scope is good, and it's not a disad without inherency. So I'm confused on what offense this is. SOCO prolif is horrible. One preemption. SOCO prolif is fast. Reach out China. No-go cause immediate first strike. That's Jackson. 2 arms control disease. Breaks the alliance and makes co-op impossible. That's Don Snyder and I did above. 3 spillover. SOCO prolif reemphasizing nuclear weapons from modern war. Fighting cascades in regional arms. Races that escalate. That's Tantor and Ross. 4 revisionism. Prolif triggers U.S. force withdrawal from SOCO. That causes Japan. Prolif and Chinese invasion of Taiwan goes nuclear. That's Snyder. 5 studies. There's the passive effective nukes by a factor of 2.7 million. Bell 15. There from the local examining works on nuclear emissions with reduced risk of weather stuff to do just separation is the only problem often dealt with force separation later existing working for the effective you go up by a factor of some point 2.7 million. The lead evidence about no preemption, it says mad, but the framing for this is that SOCO would not have a secure second strike so that it would use it, lose intentions, they'd use it right away. Also, the countries would strike them before they have nukes, which would cause immediate nuclear war faster. Conceded. They say SOCO prolif bolster stuff, but it just says the NPT. It's not about broader arms control, especially not about with NOCO, which would ruin it, which means it can't solve the advantage. They say no cascade, but yes, it cascades. Korean prolif cascades and cause nuclear war. They leave the NPT on 22 sub or 4 Korean when requiring consideration for not prolif. Also, regional implications, which all would and undermine U.S. credibility, encourage proliferation. Japan was in response to Korea or Chinese prevention side behind the risk of conflict that draws in nuclear states that whether they're not effective, they would increase the risk of escalation and instability and stability projects. SOCO prolif cascade status. So they would leave the NPT entire would follow how many states walking for the NPT would deal with that approach. Japan has the tech right down. Would place pressure on Tokyo, China would accelerate capabilities, move away from no first use. They say that the no revisionism because it doesn't spill over. It says 0 words. You should read the Kelly evidence after the card, but it also does cause preemptive strikes. It makes every future crisis escalatory. Herzog 2050 card and China reactive her Beijing Beijing exchanges the risk would be greater. Even if China and Korea would be no small feat to speak of nothing of our arms. But there's more crisis because the cardiac crisis. They say it doesn't break the alliance. Yes, it does. The alliance collapse. Says you need U.S. approval. Amount says they'll go alone to specifically break off the alliance and won't cooperate. Their agreement says that U.S. is key. The rehighlighting kills this position. Says U.S. approval needed and green light strikes from China. No takebacks. The Indo-Pac stuff. Yes, we didn't talk much about this argument because it's fucking ass. The F says it increases arms racing. It's about conventional submarines that are coming down. It says India and China solve escalation. I'm inserting the evidence because it's actually terrible. That's here.
I don't think any of the disad cards are rehighlighting got in the
Oh, were they not at the bottom?
At least they weren't at 9.
No, I don't have them either.
My fault.
It's all good.
I see it.
You see them?
Talking about this? Yeah, I see it. Or I might be reading the document that you read down, not the one you
Yeah.
sent.
We have 522 members.
The order is also going to be a little weird this time. It'll be the alliance advantage, so advantage 3. Then it will be the NATO disad. Then it'll be the advantage Dalton counterplan. Then the Korean War advantage, so advantage 1. And then the unsettled advantage.
Sorry, can we look at one more?
Yeah. It'll be the alliance advantage, so advantage 3, the NATO disad, the
1 and then 2.
yes. Is everyone good?
At the top, it's try or die for South Korean proliferation. The plans of lots of nuclear assurances for South Korean cause rapid proliferation war on the peninsula is coming now. Absent South Korean prolif, which outweighs in terms of case we're going for the worst road prolif scenario. There's a zero game on it from the The entire debate prolif is happening now by rogue nations, which risk a conflict and escalation to South Korean prolif causes regional stabilization that prevents Asian conflict. Is try or die for South Korean prolif. That's a core evidence that outweighs versus magnitude rogue prolif across East Asia causes major proliferation of nuclear use, and that as actors use it or lose it, and South Korean proliferation reigns in rogue actors and prevents regional escalation that spills up. Second, the probability tensions are high now, and further collapse of regional stability means any rogue prolif scenario would outweigh on escalation of regional conflict, and it outweighs on strength of link because they just didn't have anything on this the entire debate. Now it turns the for South Korean prolif resolves the entirety of the A. Prevents East Asian and Korean conflict, which resolves all of the impacts in areas of advantage 1. Only we're reading any deterrence evidence specific to South Korea with nuclear weapons versus North Korea, which should frame your evaluation of this argument be short of U.S. South Korean alliance, which ensures cooperation on further issues and solves the internal link to their only scenario on an advantage 3 top-level framing issue for you to star on their flow. Their work on proliferating up U.S. Asian alliances is weak at best and is going to lose them this round. The only card that they read is descriptive of what happens if alliances collapse. They have zero internal link evidence to alliance collapse in the first place. The evidence says the South Korean prolif would be aided by the United States and shores up Asian deterrence as well as allied relations overall. The Kelly evidence says the South Korean prolif would be seen by the U.S. as their best interest regardless of the method, which causes them to immediately support it. Most importantly, our evidence indicates that the U.S. would continue to support South Korean support South Korea post-prolif even if they do not initially approve. Einhorn says that if Seoul acquired them, Washington would decide to tolerate their nuclear capability just as it came to tolerate the nuclear programs of Israel, India, and Pakistan. And goes on to say that they would support Sokoa, which means the only potential piece of defense here that they have is absolutely dead. It means that proliferation acts all of it comes first. They're heavily negative on impact on evidence specificity. All of our cards say that the U.S. would support South Korean proliferation and they would strengthen alliances, which definitely solves any impact they have to this scenario. The line by line proper first. There's no semiconductors impact. The alliance remains stable post-plan, which means that there's no reduction in supply regardless of the 2AC. Straight drop the chips and act and evidence that U.S. manufacturing is increasing right now, which means that regardless there's not an impact of the second. No preemption. The evidence says the South Korean prolif would avoid preventative strikes by North Korea and China and by either happening faster than a preemptive strike or because U.S. extended the terms would cover South Korea until prolif is done. They've read no evidence that South Korean prolif caused the United States to rescind their nuclear umbrella, and our evidence is great on the question that the U.S. would still stay involved regardless. North Korea wouldn't want to take the risk because they would never know when South Korea has those weapons in the first place, which means that they wouldn't want to risk a strike to try and decapitate it when the U.S. When Sokoa could already have those nuclear weapons. Third, yes, cooperation that's done above alliances are stable post-prolif disease is internal to the NATO turn. Fourth, there's no revisionism. Multiple warrants get dropped out of the 1ARA prolif. Won't cause alliance fracture in other areas, which is proven by Britain and France, and shifts in nuclear energy posture. Indeed, the U.S. Supports South Korea either way. It benefits U.S. interests in the area regardless of initial willingness to support them. No U.S. approval deficit. The neg evidence is much better on this question, which was functionally just all done above. We good, TJ?
Yeah.
The NATO disad, there absolutely is a double turn here. Like Berkeley cannot just try and conjure themselves out of this. They only response here was that the card that they read requires complete NATO collapse, which is just not true. We've inserted or rehighlighting this. Card says that increased NATO activity causes GHG ignition, not just that full collapse is needed. We rehighlighting green the Moriyasu and Ingram evidence from the 2AC both say that the U.S. The plan would trigger a U.S. shift to NATO, which is clearly not the trigger. A link the advantage counterplan can see the permutation is just as a competition. The
the Korean War. There's no credibility of NFU. There are a couple of reasons. First is empiric. Quintessential NFU postures like China and India were never perceived as legitimate, even though they have small arsenals with detonated warheads. That's a costly evidence. Absolutely, North Korea would not be able to trust it. They say that they would do things like resolve presidential authority. That is not verifiable by Kim because it would be within the U.S. nuclear posture that Kim is not able to verify because of things like operational opacity. Second is mistrust. North Korea has been sanctioned for decades. This is the second piece of Kosovo evidence. Obviously, North Korea would not trust the United States if they have been sanctioned as an enemy for decades and then suddenly shifted course in the entirety in one day. Last, reversibility. North Korea would absolutely assume if they said they would assume that like future presidents means that it would be perceived as more credible. That's not true, especially if Kim doesn't trust it in the short term. It means that all of our impacts outweigh because he wouldn't trust it, and if they're right that North Korean war is coming soon, he wouldn't trust it enough to stop it because they haven't given any timeline for when North Korea war is coming in the first place, which means that it would probably let our impacts all happen before like another president would be able to get into office. There's no North Korean war strategic stability holds. That's the Roy evidence that Kim doesn't want to take the risk, and regardless, the U.S. and South Korea having nuclear deterrence in the future means that they would be deterred regardless. There's no miscalc. The Kang evidence is better and post-states anything that they have and there are no cases of miscalc actually happening. Literally zero war in history has been caused by miscalculation. Modern safety is able to check. They say that we dropped presidential first strike. That's just absolutely not true. That's just absolutely not true. The Wolf evidence says that the U.S. posture is restrained. We also didn't cross-apply their evidence from the counterforce. Disad that says that we would never attempt to use counterforce first strikes, which proves that the U.S. would never use them in the first place. The arms sale stuff, there is zero risk of this nuclear terror stuff. They functionally conceded our evidence specific to North Korea that they would never have nuclear transfers. That's the Resner evidence. There's zero chance that they would be able to, both because there is a lack of buyers that would be willing to buy North Korean nuclear material, and there would be global backlash, which means that North Korea knows that there would be a massive risk of them selling nuclear material, which means that they wouldn't want to take that risk because North Korea values regime survival over just attempts to gain more revenue, which is just has no terminal impact. And yeah, they also haven't said who would be buying these nukes in the first place, so you should give it a pretty low risk.
Oh shit, is that one of the, I feel like I've seen those before. Isn't those like Kim K's or something?
No, it's the energy drink.
Yeah, I know, but like, isn't it like, I thought,
think you're right.
I thought it had something to do with Kim Kardashian.
Does it? Or no, one of the other cultivators was like, they're good, and they do taste pretty good.
Yeah, like
Go
it's
ahead and
hard
maybe
to,
add different quality flavors.
it's hard to
Yeah,
go
it's
to
like
Dallas after you've
K's.
been in for
Really?
it.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I like it.
That's sort of
It's like,
What the fuck is
sort of
cosmic
like-
stardust?
Shot
it
of-
tastes like exactly what you would imagine some cosmic supplements there. It's like super artificial.
Let's see what it is.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3,
We
and
have-
the disad.
I have some adjectives. So one is NOCO.
Yeah,
2 is
Um,
arm sales.
yeah,
Okay.
and Alliance or whatever, yeah.
Okay.
And then what was after the case?
Yeah, so Korea War, arms sales, alliance, and then the NATO disadvantage.
Some nouns, not adjectives.
There's too many external scenarios that South Korean proliferation doesn't solve for you to feel comfortable voting for it. Korea war outweighs the risk extinction now. Park evidence indicates that Kim's escalating line crossing, missile testing, and provocations in the status quo to extract political concessions during the election cycle. Every week, missile launches regularly crash near Soka. Civilian targets collapse of the CMA means there's no diplomatic off-ramps. That locks in Soka first strike and no-go miscalculation necessary. Both are drawn the United States and China, which reignites the Korean War and goes nuclear less comical. Outweighs all of their arguments. Nukes are pre-programmed for main cities, destroys the ozone, lights the airborne power, causes debris storms, which causes global famine, escalates every hotspot that's we should prefer it. Their impacts in Afghanistan, they don't have a terminal coming out of the 2NR, doesn't indicate who goes first in the scenario, and it's external in the world of SOCO proliferation. They didn't read the deterrent scenario and contextualize it to the missile scenario, which was our internal link that we were going for this entire round. None of the cards touch up on it. Best thing, turn this with deterrence, but Russia overflight is an independent outfit. You didn't hear what's coming out of the 2NR. The 2NR dropped too many works. North Korea is changing to a lost trajectory in response to the United States' first use upcoming 2024 ICBM task. We're on a full range trajectory towards the United States. That was a Terry evidence extended to 1AR. We said the words to 2NR drop that triggers ground-based interceptors in Alaska, which has off Russian early warning system. That's Terry and Lewis. Russia war outweighs everything. Defense doesn't assume the largest nuclear arsenals and no diplomatic off-ramps. You should assume it escalates. If Putin's an autocrat who only cares about regime survival and only our impact goes global. Counterforce causes NATO draw in and blows thousands of holes into the ozone layer. The trust of it, I'll do it here. They said Kim will not be able to verify, but they drop the future presidents would double down. They see shift in U.S. first posture on the peninsula and assume it's credible as Jackson. It speaks to NOCO, our credibility concerns, and only we have evidence in the context of it. Their causal evidence doesn't even come close. The constraints on the U.S. presidential authority uniquely make the plan credible, and they'll see it. And they also say that that strategic stability holds under this, but it doesn't hold. The asymmetric warrant is uniquely key here. That's the Sukin evidence. Only redo an explanation of internal regime pressures that counter onto trust debate proper. All of their no-fallen arms are non-unique. NOCO signed out arms control agreements after the USCW draw the chin, but mistrust stems from Trump-era presidential threats. With the Jackson evidence takes that into account and solves, and mistrust is the status quo. U.S. reliance on first use causes NOCO aggression. Decades of internal documents and posturing proves the United States is the reason NOCO abandoned in a few policy election, and only when you're making predictive claims about future credibility, regardless if they win at the start. North Korea is suspicious. Fiat means the plan is durable and literally reiterated through future crises, which they have an answer. It's in diplomatic rewards. Which zeroes all of the 2NR. The plan's to shift from denuke diplomacy towards mutual risk reduction. There's no disad to SOCO de-escalating tensions. The plan allows NOCO to remain a nuclear state, which is a massive political win for the regime. Advantage 2. We're not going for terrorism. There's no offense here that's cross applicable. The alliance advantage. Proliferation is horrible. Completely destabilize the peninsula causes war. There's multiple independent scenarios for extinction. The evidence doesn't come close to grappling with. First is preemption, shifting the security to limit East Asia costs to China. NOCO to first strike. 2NR drop the Sukin evidence. NOCO is scared of SOCO aggression now. The plan supercharges that. It reintroduces asymmetric deterrence dilemma on the peninsula, which causes its generals to freak out in first strike. Before it, only our evidence speaks to military generals and Kim's threat perception. That's Terry and Sukin. They don't have evidence that they will be able to do it in secret. It means that NOCO would proliferate would first strike. The second he sees them making the bomb, that's the Herzog evidence you didn't hear in the 2-hour. The alliance advantage, we're not going for any of it, so all their spillover ones don't really matter. But uniquely, the 2-hour was way too weak on spillover. Their 10-17 evidence indicates that Soko prolific collapsing. LIO, it's the first time an LIO state has broken out and become a rogue proliferator in the 21st century. Causes a precedent for proliferation. Internationally spills over, globally escalates, hotspots or evidence is garbage. It might assume that Soko might be able to shrink the proliferation norms, but none of it comes close to assuming that a globally proliferation suddenly halts, and independently it undermines the UPT, causes rampant proliferation across the globe, causes China to move away from their first use posture, and Japan follows. They drop the China will first strike, and that's the slander evidence. Even if it destabilizes the peninsula, it creates a use or lose it dilemma globally, which outweighs on magnitude. That's the on in Davis evidence. The sub stuff doesn't matter. The highlighting kills. It says that it's already being run on now. The tweet re-highlighting proves the card does have sense. It's destabilizing. This is a uniqueness for the affirmative. At the on top of their 2-hour frames, they said that it's try or die for prolific nuclear assurances. War on the peninsula is now, but they conceded the war on the peninsula is because of U.S. first use threat. They dropped the solvency page. Plan solves the reason why you voted negative. The rogue prolif scenario, the only scenario in East Asia is North Korean proliferation. Everybody in East Asia is terrified of NOCO. The plan removes that off the table. That's a Terry evidence in the 1AR. They say deterrence solves, but the Sukin evidence is the nail in the coffin. It says asymmetric. A deterrence crisis motivate risk-taking. Deterrence postures make that inevitable. Only we have in the context of internal regime pressure, so that you frame how you look at no-go posturing, and it's only the context of missile testing, which under the deterrence evidence comes close to answering. They say cooperation on further issues. We're not going for the alliance advantage, so there's nothing here. They say that we don't know when Ahsoka has the stuff in their affiliation, which means that there's not going to be a first strike, but they will escalate sooner than later. The Terry evidence indicates that they think that they can hold the United States hostage because they have second strike, and they will 100% escalate when they think South Korea is beelining for the bomb, and will think because that they just proliferated a nuclear weapon that they can escalate sooner than later. The DA. You cannot be serious. The NATO card you read says that the existence of NATO makes it impossible to solve climate. Our non-unique card says that security credibility is low now, not collapse now. The re-highlighting just says that NATO diverts money for offering GHG emissions. Card 0 on that being key to solve climate or military budgets, and there's no evidence on how the United States' low security commitments have shifted money back towards the climate. Lynn is the opposite and says the status quo has shifted budgets to the cannot increase it.
Insert that.
Insert it?
Yeah, we've already read it.
We've already read all this stuff. We'll insert it. The Sukin card answers all of their deterrence, succeed stuff. We read a missile testing advantage. They haven't read any cards in the context of that. There's really no scenario you can go for, even if spillover escalates global hotspots. They tend to go nuclear.
Joey's sending the card back right now.
I'm assuming that I can let it
Jake, once you send that card back to me, it's awesome.